Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Griiix. Welcome to the channel. And today I'm going to be featuring something very special to me, which is all about Boomer Explained. So please join me in the first episode of GB Academy, which is Gunbound Academy, with Boomer Explained. Now this video is gonna be a long tutorial on how to play Boomer properly and what are the tips and tricks to get you started so that you can start playing Boomer just the way I did. And now I think I'm pretty okay with Boomer, but I don't want to say. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you like it, please support me by subscribing, hitting the notification bell, smashing the like, and letting me know in the comments below what else you want to see in this channel, whether it is more explained videos or how to calculate wind, or what is the wind compass all about, or just funny commentaries. Well, then this is right for you, I hope. Anyways, enough of me talking all about it. Let's dive into the first ever GB Academy episode, Boomer Explained. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to GB Academy Boomer Explained. Now in this video, we're gonna do a little bit of math calculations. I know you guys, especially Sil, he doesn't like math, but you will need to learn a little bit of math in order for you to play Boomer well. Now Boomer is a special tank, just like Phoenix or some other tanks with the red line, but most importantly, Boomer is not like any standard tanks, so the wind calculation is completely different. Now if you guys are noticing that, well, I'm applying regular, standard tank theory into Boomer, and it's not working. The main reason why is that the calculation is not even calculated the same way. So let's dive right in. Before we go in, I do want to explain that Boomer's S1 and S2 is completely different. So today I am only going to be talking about S2 and also SS, because that's SS and S2, they're identical, whereas S1 I will dive into it in more details with further request on a separate video. So let's first take a look at what Boomer is all about. Hey guys, so welcome back for the a brief pause or break, whatever it is. So I want to take a look at Boomer himself, or itself, no gender implied. Now Boomer, as an S grade tank, you're getting about 200 damage, 600 HP, which is, glass cannon kind of HP. And, the most important thing to note is the accuracy. Now, Boomer's accuracy is rated at 100, which is the highest amongst all the other tanks. Now, with accuracy, I will show you in a little bit what that means, because according to the developers, their answer to accuracy, well, you know what, I'm gonna let you decide as to what they say, because your interpretation is much more important than mine. So let's go right in. I'm gonna jump screens and take a look at what the developer has said regarding to accuracy. Hey guys, welcome back. I had to dig into my emails to really find exactly where it was. Okay, so this is what the developer has mentioned in regards to accuracy. All tanks have a small angle of error when firing a shot. It is to reduce or increase that error. So basically what that means is, even if you, know where to hit every single time, on lower grade tanks like C, B, A, whatever, you have less accuracy to start. So that means even though you know exactly where you should be hitting, the RNG makes it so that you miss a little bit. So obviously it's to reward people who have A tanks or S tanks. So it's a little unfair for the pay to or free to play players. However, once you get the A tank or the S tank, you kind of eliminate that. Now Boomer, again, as I mentioned before, Boomer has the highest rated at 100 accuracy, out of everyone else, meaning you have 100% of accuracy. That means at the S tank rated boomer, you don't have anyone else to blame other than Octor if he is on the field, or yourself if you miss. So you just got to remember that's what accuracy does. And this video is not to explain accuracy, but it's just to highlight boomers pros and cons. Let's go. Let's dive back into the game and continue where I left off. Alright, welcome back, guys. Let's quickly take a look at what S2 does, because S2 and SS are identical. So let's see. When it reaches the peak after rising it to the sky, it changes its direction after turning, dives, and fires a returning boomerang. So, and also you plus 7 bonus damage from forward boomerang. Now, it does say it's plus 7. What I've realized is one thing though. Now let's quickly, I'm gonna jump screens a little bit, and I need to explain this extra 7% damage. Let's quickly take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to the email screen here. So I want you to take a look. This is sent directly from GBM about Boomer. So they mentioned that we can describe the properties of a bullet, or rather the bullet, but we can't tell you how to calculate another aim. So basically what they're saying is we can tell you what the property of the attack is, but we will not be able to give you the win calculation for any specific tanks. So moreover, they say the amount of change of boomerang, oh my god, increases according to the flight time when it's gliding. Please use the tank in the practice room. So what that means is, as long as the boomerang stays up in the air longer, you build up more damage, and thus that's 7%, which is why sometimes, when you shoot really low angle, compared to S1 and S2, they kind of look identical in terms of damage. The S2 does more damage when it's up in the air for longer a period of time, and I have tested it, and it is true. So let's go back into the game, and I'll explain how to see when you build up that 7%, and how you build up that 7%. Let's quickly go back in the game and take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to the notes. Now, before we begin with the notes, one thing, because Sil is the one who actually put this video, or all my videos, together, so I'm gonna have to remind Sil on one thing. So Sil, if you are listening, please put a compass on maybe the top right hand of the screen, a small little compass.
I got you, homie.
Northeast, southwest, right? Northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. So those 8 quadrants, okay? Because we have to remember those specific 8 points, so that, even if the arrow on the compass is off by a little bit, exactly, if it were to be exactly, let's say, northeast, I know how to calculate that. It's just that the arrow shifted a little bit. I'm just gonna, adjust accordingly, right? So as long as you know those 8 quadrants, northeast, southwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. Oh my god. So those 8 points. So let's begin. Oh, and by the way, Sil, if you can just include 2 little small thumbnails on both the left and right bottom corner, the left being a boomer, and the right the tank I hate the most. Let's add a slam if you can find a photo of a slam, because I hate slam, and because this explanation is geared towards if you were to be playing on the left hand side and your opponent being on the right. Now, in a real game, that might all change, because you might start off on the right side and your opponent being on the left side. If that happens, honestly, you just flip the calculation around, And yeah, so do this in practice mode first. I honestly think you need to practice a lot with hard AI, and make sure you land your hits every single time, and then you can slowly go onto the ladder 2v2 and then 1v1 once you get more used to it. I would not try and play Boomer 1v1 until you understand exactly how it works on both left and the right side of the screen. So let's begin with the win quadrants. Are you ready? Because I know Sil is definitely watching this because he loves Boomer as much as I do. And let's quickly take a look. Alright, so let's quickly take a look at the first one. So we're looking at northwest wind, okay? So by that, I mean looking at the example here, which took me a while to actually get in the training mode. This is what northeast wind looks like. And when I say ratio 1-to-1, I mean full power. Okay, so if you were to pull back full power, whatever the wind count is, you just move it by whatever. So in this example, it's 2, you would move the crosshair 2 behind the tank. If the wind, let's say, is 7, right, then you move it 7 behind. But you also have to consider one thing, which is the 70 to 110 degree rule. If your white line falls within that category of 70 to 110 degree, you have to add 2. So normally in northwest wind situation, you're never going to have to add 2 because unless your target is right in front of you. But even if he is, you have to consider, am I going to go full power to get a risky shot super sky? Or am I just going to make sure I guarantee 100% that I land a hit on him? Because sometimes when you're playing Boomer, you want to use Boomer's advantage, which he is a glass cannon tank. He has very low HP, very high damage, and very high accuracy. But if you miss one, let's say if you take a bold, courageous turn and you miss once, you're going to be behind by 2 turns. Not only that, your Boomer is, the advantage of your Boomer no longer is in effect because you missed. So sometimes you have to consider, am I going to go full power or am I going to go half power? If I'm going to go full power, you got to make sure that you're going to land that hit. Otherwise, you're going to be super behind, because I have a saying where I rather have 100% of 100% damage than to have a percentage or a percent chance of having 107% damage. I know it's a little confusing, but basically it's either a guarantee hit or a chance of hitting with an additional 7%, which is, honestly, if you think about it, it's not worth it, but it will be worth it once you understand Boomer and you can play Boomer with blindfolds. So let's go back into northwest wind. The ratio is 1-to-1. Very, very simple. Unlike standard tanks, you gotta probably divide it by 2 plus 2, whatever. That stupid formula. Boomer, you don't need that formula. And later on, I can, in the GBA Gunbound Academy series, I plan on, letting other Gunbound players know how to calculate win without that cheesy formula, right? The wind is 2 at this rate, you got to divide it by 2 and plus 1 or minus 1. That formula, it's so confusing. It takes so much time sometimes. I have a formula that's a lot quicker. However, you will need to understand a little bit more about percentages and fractions. But if you guys want to know how I play and how I calculate the wind, let me know in the comments below so that Sil can let me know that that's what you guys want, and I will make a separate video on the wind compass explained. So going back into Boomer, let's quickly take a look and review. Northwest wind ratio is 1-to-1. No matter what the number is, it's 1-to-1 unless you are shooting in the range of 70, which is 70 to 110 degrees. If you are shooting within that threshold, you're going to have to add 2 to the wind no matter what the wind number is. Got it? Okay. Next, moving on to the next quadrant, the north wind ratio. All right, this one is a little tricky. Okay, so if the wind is pointing fully up, 100% 12 o'clock north wind, the ratio is 1 to 4, meaning every 4 wind, right? You move the crosshair ruler by 1. So, for example, if the wind is 12, you move it by 4. If the wind is 9, you move it by 3, and 6, you move by 2, and 3, you move by 1. So you might ask, but Griiix, what about if it's 8? Well, you can just round it up, right? Even though 8 is what, like what, 2.75, you can still aim it at 3 and it'll still hit. It may not be perfect, but at least you hit, right? And same goes with any other wind. Now, one thing to note on standard tanks, if they are faced with north wind, you're most likely gonna move the crosshair in front of the tank, because the idea is the wind is gonna blow the trajectory or the missile up higher, so therefore the missile goes further. Now with Boomer, it's completely, and I must say this, and Sil, you gotta add some effect here because I can't stress out how important this is. If it is exactly north wind, it is not a standard tank play. Instead of putting the crosshair in front of the tank, you're gonna have to put it behind the tank.
Huh?
Yep, it works. I imagined it, and I understand how it all works. If you guys don't want to do the creative side of thinking, just trust me. If the north wind is, let's say, 12, you'd honestly just move the crosshair 4 behind the target, and I promise you, it will land every single time. Now, one thing to note, again, if you are shooting your white line within the 70 to 110 degree, you're going to have to add 2, right? So when you're shooting up north wind, it's actually quite easy to shoot within that threshold. So if the wind is 12 and you're shooting within that threshold, you're gonna have to make the wind 14. So therefore, you're actually moving it by maybe 4.75, 4.6, right? So basically 4.5. Don't move it by 5 behind. You're gonna miss at least 4.5. That is where you're gonna have to shoot. And yeah, that's it for north wind. You're gonna have to shoot behind. So it's completely opposite to standard tanks. I don't know how else to reiterate that. Try that in practice mode again whenever you get that wind. Remember, north wind means behind. Just think about what standard tank play you would need to do, then reverse it in the 180 degree you got to turn it around 180 degrees. Instead of shooting it in the front, you just got to shoot in the back. So that is all for north wind. Now guys, obviously you can copy all these notes down for yourself. I truly don't mind. And it will help you, because as you play Boomer, you're just going to remember that specific calculation. Now in my situation, I play Boomer so much that sometimes when I go back into standard tanks, I actually forget that I'm not playing Boomer, and then I miss, and then my partner would just BM me. But anyways, just so you know, Boomer is the only tank that I think, I don't know if Photon is like that. I don't have Photon, so I haven't tried. But with Boomer, I think so far it is the only one that does that, where north wind, you have to shoot behind your enemy. So let's move on to the next one, which is northeast wind. So what I call northeast is tailwind, meaning the wind is blowing with you rather than against you. Now this one, very, very simple. Again, it's ratio 1 to 1.2, which means every 5 wind, you're going to have to add 1. So if the wind is 5, you're going to have to add 1. So it makes it 6. Now, the reason why I mentioned here in the guide +2 is because I find whenever it is northeast wind and I'm shooting full power, I'm always shooting within the 70, which is 70, to 110 degree with my white line. So obviously, if I'm shooting within that range, I have to add 2. So if the example, let's say here in the description here, 4 northeast tailwind, so that to me is what? 4.8. I would make it, round it up to 5, because if you just do 4 and then plus 2, you're gonna skim your opponent. You're gonna barely hit him. You might hit him just once with one boomer, and that might only be 70 damage, right? Because you forgot to add the 0.2 for every 1 wind. So if it is 4, it is 4.8 rounded up, meaning 5. And if, again, you're shooting within that threshold, you're just going to have to add 2 and make it 7. So what ends up happening is you're actually pulling the ruler 7 in front of the tank, of your enemy tank. So in this position, I know it's a Monko Air with armor, but just imagine it to be Boomer, okay? If I were to go full power, I am actually pulling 7 in front of the opponent, and it will land every single time. Other than that, anywhere within the north to east wind region, so, the 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, the ratio is always 1 to 1.2. Now, let me see here. I know I mentioned north. Yeah, so same thing. But if it's exactly north, again, you just do you just do it 1 to 1. But anywhere within a little bit over north to 3 o'clock east wind, you're going to have to change the ratio to 1 to every 1.2. That's all you need to do. Now moving on to north. Oh wait, I was just explaining that. North to east wind direction ratio is again 1 to every 1.2. So meaning right here, if it's 3, it is 3.6. I would just do either 4 or 3.5. And again, if you based on the position where these two tanks are, I know when I pull full power, the white line is going to be within that threshold again, so I have to add 2. So if the wind is 3 right now, then it becomes 3.5 plus 2, so it's 5.5. I would actually put 5.5 in front of the tank. Not 5, not 6, 5.5, because if you go 5 or 6, again, you're just going to skim and hit the tank barely for maybe 100 damage rather than, let's say, 220 or 240, whatever it may be. Okay? And again, with Boomer, the projectile missile is small. It's not like, machine missiles where they explode and, do a lot of AoE damage. Boomer is very, very direct and on point. So even if you're off by, let's say, 0.5, it's going to show, which is why a lot of people know that Boomer is a very skilled and high-level playing tank, and you need to be very, very accurate with your ruler counting. Otherwise, you're never really going to, utilize the potential of Boomer, which is a straight glass cannon tank. Got it? All right, so let's quickly move on to the next one. And oh man, I am just trying to remind you guys, if the white line angle is within the 70 degree to 110 degrees, you gotta add 2 to the regular 1 to 1 count, okay? Or 1 to 1.2, whatever it may be, okay? So moving on to southeast wind, looking at the image here, you don't have to change the ratio to 1.2. The ratio is exactly 1 to 1, just like the complete opposite of northwest wind. Ratio is exactly 1 to 1. So in this position, chances are I might not be in that 70 to 110 degree range. If you are, all you have to do is just move back a little bit more so you're not within that threshold. Or if you're comfortable, just add 2 because you know you're within that threshold. So a lot of practice is needed to know or to get the feel what 70 or 110 degree feels like, because sometimes you might just be, on the edge at like 109 degree. At 109 degree, you're not going to need to add 2. So it's very, precise when you have to add 2. So in order for you to avoid that mistake, and like every time you shoot it with it, like, wherever your position is, if you are pulling full power and it looks or it feels or it gives you the vibe that it is in the 110 degree, you know what? For me, I would literally just go half power. At half power, I'm going to have to move the white line a little bit further down so I know for sure it's not within that threshold, and at least I can guarantee myself 100% that I'm going to land the hit rather than taking a chance just to get that 7%. The risk to reward is not worth it. Only if you know the outcome, only if you know you can definitely hit your target, then yes, go for that 7%. But if you are not certain, like if you are just new and starting out boomer, don't go for that 7% yet. Set yourself up for success and go for, the half power like I did when I first started. I only shot right at the transform marker, and that is it until I understood more of it and got used to how boomer is played. Then I am now, always pulling full power whenever I can or whenever the map or wind permits me to. And that's how you would want to play boomer. And honestly, that's how a lot of pro players play boomer. They actually don't go full power all the time. They only go enough just to get the super sky and build up their SS. And another thing to note is you will most likely get a sky shot shooting at 50%. However, you will not get super sky very often when you're shooting at 50%. So once you get comfortable with boomer, you can definitely start pulling back the power a little bit more and more, just enough for you to get the super sky. And because you have to understand, okay, there are 3 things: 50%, 100% damage, maybe 60 or 75% power, you get super sky. 100% you get super sky and you get 7%. So unless you are very comfortable with boomer, then you go for the max power. Again, if you're not, go for the 50%, which I always tell Sil, go for the 50 until you can truly understand how the dynamic of boomer is played, then go for the 100. And so Sil himself is finding a lot of success with this method, and if honestly Sil can do it, guys, I'm pretty sure you can do it. All right, not to trash on you, Sil. I'm not trying to shit on your face, but I'm just saying, if you can do it, I'm sure a lot of people can. Anyway, moving forward before Sil gets mad here. Okay, south wind, which is exactly the opposite of north wind. So if you remember in our little briefing earlier, north wind, you would shoot behind the tank rather than in front of the tank because it's completely opposite to standard tanks. Well, what do you think south wind is all about? Again, it's the same thing. South wind, you shoot it in front of the tank, and then because a standard tank, you would shoot it behind the tank. You would aim the crosshair behind the tank. But boomer, however, you're gonna have to move the crosshair in front of the tank. Now, one thing to note with south and north wind, if you are not confident with this strategy yet, because you always forget or whatever, that's okay. Move the transform marker, leave it right on top of the tank. There is a 90% chance you will always hit. I don't know how that works, but someone, my friend who introduced me to Boomer, who introduced me to Gunbound actually, who is now studying in London, actually told me this trick. And so if it is perfectly north or south, if you leave the transform marker on top of your opponent, there is a 90% chance that you will land your hit every single time. So try that, guys. Don't take my word for it. Try it out for yourself, and you're gonna be like, wow, this is so fucking easy. playing Boomer has never been easier. So, because honestly, Boomer is so direct, it's so straightforward. There's no, plus, if the wind is 2, I got to divide it by 2 plus 2. Or, oh, the wind is 2, I got to minus 1, and, divided by whatever. You don't have to think about that because Boomer ratio is almost, in all cases, 1 to 1. So, let's quickly move on to the last few quadrants, and then I will show you some gameplay. In southwest wind ratio, a little different. If it's perfectly southwest, the ratio is 1 to 2. Meaning, if the wind is here shown as 2, you're going to have to divide it by 2. That's the only thing you need to do. There's no plus 1, plus 2, divided by 2. So if the wind, let's say, is 12, right, in this exact moment, I would move it 6 behind the enemy, and then it will always land a super sky, right? All you have to do is land 50% of whatever. And even if you pull 50% of the transform marker, it is still 6. So my favorite wind is always southwest wind because all I have to do is go and look at what the wind number is and divide it by 2, and I would go full power because whether it's 50% or 100%, you're still pulling, the same amount away from the target. Then why wouldn't I pull it 100% power to gain that 7% damage, right? So remember, guys, the transform marker and where the crosshair, no matter what power it is, if it is southwest wind ratio, you just divide it by 2 in terms of whatever the wind is, and you will always land. I can't stress that. Southwest wind will be your favorite wind. I promise you that. So moving on to the last one, the west wind ratio. Now, the reason why I left the west wind ratio last is because there is a little bit of complication to west wind. The west wind ratio is, yes, 1 to 1. However, there are more rules to apply or more rules to remember. The first rule, of course, the 70 to 110 degree. Again, that rule applies to any type of wind wherever it may be as long as you're shooting within that threshold. So that's the first rule that you have to remember. Now, the second rule is if you are spawned, let's say, very far away from your opponent, chances are you're going to have to pull full power and maybe it might not even reach, right? Because the wind doesn't allow you to. But let's say you are lucky, you're pulling full power, and you know what? Why don't I demonstrate this in game? Let's quickly jump in game. But just remember, west wind ratio is 1 to 1. Again, guys, if you enjoyed the Gunbound Academy explanation, I am more than happy to create more videos for you so that you can play your favorite tank the way you want, without calculating +2, +1, +2. I honestly, when I first started playing Gunbound, I tried that method from a fellow YouTuber who speaks in a different language. However, because he speaks in a different language, I can only guess what he's saying and take that into account and look at the formula. However, I figured out a much easier and simpler way to look at the wind, but it will require you to understand a little bit of percentages, fractions, and a little bit of math. So let's quickly dive into the game and I'll explain a little bit on the west wind ratio. I'll see you guys in game. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so I am here to explain to you the west wind. Now, I got really lucky on my first try with the AI and I managed to score 5 west wind. Now, it's not perfectly west, but we can still say it is west, and the ratio again is still 1 to 1. So let me move back a little bit so I can demonstrate. Now, of course, remember what I said in the S2. If I was shooting within this 90 to 110 degree range, I have to add 2. But right now, I'm not trying to hit my own lightning here. I'm trying to hit the other target. So let's see. Okay, so let's say if the wind is 5, you divide it by 2. Technically, you just honestly move it. Okay, I gotta really like precise this. Okay, is that 2? Yeah, so that's 2.5, 50%. But let's say, Griiix, I am very comfortable, but how do I get to the next level? Well, let's quickly take a look. Of course, if it was full power, you would just, whatever it is, let's say the crosshair is, and then you would move it, 5 behind, right? However, because let's say this is full power, and the transfer marker is right under the HP of the AI tanks, right? So you got to understand, from that distance to the crosshair, which is on the platform, there is a difference of 50 to 100%. So you can imagine if it was like this, it's no longer 50% or 100%, it's 75%, right? And the reason why I mentioned this to you guys is it's going to be very important, especially on west wind, and you need to know a little bit of math, fraction percentages, because let's say I want, let's say I'm further out, okay, and this was my limit. Okay, I'm just gonna try to, okay, hold on. Let's say this was my limit. I'm already at full power in this angle, right? And this is what I can do. Well, I know the wind is 5, right? 50% of that is 2.5. Okay, 100% of that is 5. But what about in between? If this is the full line of 50 to 100, if I am within right in the middle, then I can tell you it's 75%, right? It's that easy. Now, what I've done, because I'm not good with fractions all that much, 75%. Like if I ask you what's 75% of 12, you're gonna be like, what? I'm gonna be like, well, now that I think about it, is it 8 or 9? Jeez.
I'm kind of retarded.
So, anyways, but let's say you have to do this on the fly really quick, because honestly, in a real game, you have about 20 seconds. So, what I like to do is 5 times 7, which is 35, and you move the decimal over, it's 3.5. So what ends up happening is I'm actually doing the math 5 times 0.7, which equivalent is 5 times 7, right? Which is 35. You move the decimal, which is 3.5, right? So if you were to try, like let's say if this doesn't work, all you have to do is move your boomer forward just so you can get that 3.5. Okay, like, gosh, 3.5. Okay. Because it's no longer 75%, this is not going to hit. It's going to be somewhere around there. Then you're going to hit. So again, it's knowing, okay, your position of the boomer, how low can you go? And, if I can only shoot 75%, so of 5 is 3.5. But let's say it's not going to make it because I already maxed out my moving distance. Well, then too bad. You're going to have to shoot, the 50% range. And so let's see here. All right, so I'm so confident. I'm gonna shoot my boomerang there, and bang, bang, bang. Right on target. Right in the head, on the tank where you're supposed to hit. Right. So again, let me just quickly. Lightning is just stupid. Lightning. Wait, it's not. That's not gonna hit. There we go. And then I'm just going to quickly wait for the AI to shoot, and then so I can go on. Hopefully the wind doesn't change, but unfortunately he destroys the ground. But, okay, so another example here is tailwind 5 east, right? So I'm going to show you, this is perfect now. I'm going to move forward just to see if I can put that. Oh, God, I'm stuck. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so... no, I am not going to be within that 110 degree range, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to just move it. Let's say, all right, 5. So remember, every 5 wind, you have to add 1. So let's say this is full power. It's at full power. What I usually do is I adjust this power knob here, right? Because I'm already at max power, right? Max power is this, which is sitting at 4.5. I literally just need to move it. Let's see here. 1, 2. All right. Let's see what I can do. Oh, I'm gonna do this. And there we go, right? So it's actually that easy. Again, you just have to remember these calculations. Boomer most of the time is 1-to-1, and if it is tailwind on the upside, meaning north to east quadrant, then you're gonna have to change that ratio to 1 to 1.2. Other than that, that the threshold of shooting within the 70 to 110 degree range, all that plays into account of adding 2. So let's say if the wind is, let's say, east 12, right? The highest it can ever go. So what you end up doing is, okay, the wind of 12. Okay, so what's 12 times 1.2? Jeez, I'm not even good at math. I know for sure 10 is 2 because 5 is 1. So 10, 2, and then 2 equals 0.4. So it's actually 14.4, right? 14.4 at 12. East wind, we have to move the ruler by 14.4. And in that situation, because it's so far away from you, most likely you're going to be shooting within that, 90 to 110 degree range, right? So 14.4 plus 2, it's going to be 16.4. Now, in that situation, honestly, don't even fucking bother. Just go half power, because it's impossible. I mean, it's impossible, unless you have some sort of hacks, to aim 16.4, 16.5 on a real map where the landscape, there may not be land. It might be little dots here and there, or like little islands. How with different elevations, it's impossible. So I would much rather, in those situations, if I know I'm not certain, shoot in low power, just land a hit and hope for the best, because I would rather you hit something than to go full power and hit nothing. That is what you need to kind of tell yourself as you play Boomer, and know what is the best strategic way to maximize Boomer's capability, right? Because again, Boomer has very low HP. And so last thing to go with, which is Boomer, before Sil plugs in some Boomer gameplay. Boomer itself, if you have the S, great. At level 50, you are hovering, at 650 HP. Now, at 650 HP, that is considered super duper low. So I would always pair Boomer with, any avatar that allows the avatar to hold 2 green jewels, such as Nasty Cat, Poor Rabbit, Jewel Helmet, the A version, or even the S version if you're lucky enough, or the Knight, or basically anyone that gives you more survivability, because Boomer's damage is already ridiculously high on its own. Don't look at the attack on the on the status here. 237 doesn't mean anything, because it's all about what happens in the real game, right? So sometimes you're gonna see, like, let's say for instance, Slam's attack is 200 and maxed out with level 50. It's 224, but the S2 can do well over 224. It does like 280 without clouds, right? So I don't want you guys to be consumed about the attack status on this tank, but rather how much it can actually do in a real game. So with that being said, the last thing to do, I have to add another segment, which is how I rate Boomer as a tank in hull. So again, Sil will plug in some gameplay right after this, but before that, I want to dive right in to my last segment. What's the rating? Let's go. All right. Welcome, guys. I know this has been a very long explain tutorial video. Now, if you guys actually watched all of it and you guys are at this end stage, I want to just say thank you. Congratulations to being able to sit and listen to me talk all about just one specific tank. Again, if you guys like this segment of me, Gunbound Academy Explained, let me know in the comments below, because it will let me know as to what tank to do next. If you guys don't request it, I'm just gonna do whatever I feel like on time. So it's very important that you leave a comment below. And guys, if you find that this video helped you with your boomer play, please hit that thumbs up, or even subscribe and follow me with the notification bell on to see whatever new video Sil is able to conjure up and post. But that being said, let's go to what I think Boomer is rated as a whole out of 100. So out of these 100 marks, I divided it into 10 separate segments. And so as I go through each and every tank in my future videos of Gunbound Academy Explained, you can look, and honestly this number doesn't really mean much, but it gives you a very fair sense as to what this tank is rated at. Is it OP? Is it underpowered? I don't know, but let's quickly take a look before the whole tutorial ends. So sitting at HP, I am going to give Boomer a 5 out of 10, because honestly, at S grade, sitting at 650, that's very mediocre. You can maybe survive 3 hits on rough times, maybe just 2, right? At most is 4, so it's not the greatest. So I'm gonna have to give HP 5 out of 10. Now, however, in damage, Boomer, at least to my knowledge, right, in the PC Gunbound, Boomer had the highest DPS, and of course, with the Gunbound Mobile, more and more tanks came out, and more and more tanks do way more damage, like Slam, fucking Slam. But overall, Boomer is still very good on its damage. For that, I'm going to have to rate it 8 out of 10, and this rating is based on how much damage it can do compared to other tanks. So it's pretty high up there. It's not the best, but it's very, very high up there. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now moving on over to Bungie, I've never seen and I've never experienced Boomer bungeeing anyone. I've never been able to do it. I don't think anyone has. I don't think anyone will try, because the explosion range on the projectile is very, 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 very small. It actually does not even dent the terrain, even if you hit the target. So yeah, Bungie is not part of Boomer's curriculum. So if you're looking to play a Bungie tank, Boomer is not the tank for you. So moving on over to range, I'm gonna have to give range a 7 out of 10, mainly because, again, West Wind is very, very restrictive because of the limitation and how the red line changes its pivot point closer towards you. So if on a bigger map, or actually, honestly, even on a medium-sized map, if you're on the opposite end to your opponent with, let's say, not high, but, medium 7 west wind towards you, like headwind, chances are you're going to have to end up using your S1, because you just won't be able to shoot that far. Your S2 is at its limit, and, you're just going to have to use S1. So, guys, if you guys don't know how to use S1, I can definitely make another tutorial on Gunbound Academy Explained with S1. However, I do need you guys to request that. Otherwise, I am not going to do that and just make some other explain tank videos. Anyways, moving on to the next one, I'm going to give difficulty a 4. Meaning, okay, so obviously higher the number, it means it's super easy. Lower the number, it's super hard. Difficulty, it's 4, mainly because of the all the rules you have to follow, right? All the 70 to 110 degree, you gotta, do math, one to every 1.2 or whatever. So it's a little overwhelming at first. I know it was for me, but as you guys, practice and practice more and more, it's gonna be natural to you. But you can say that for any tank. So as a beginner player, like myself, who got Boomer very very early but never understood how to play him, it was very very challenging for me until my friend Faya showed me how to do it, on a very I guess Boomer for dummy scale, and that's how I start developing these methods and all that. So I hope after understanding the this whole video, the difficulty for you, it will be a 10, meaning it's very easy. For me, however, right now, my win rate with Boomer is actually very high. It's actually higher than my Adam and Aduka. So I actually really like my Boomer play right now, and I've been playing a lot of Boomer, even though I have a lot of other tanks. I mean, honestly, I just love Boomer so much that I just stick to him. So anyways, moving on to the next category, we have climbing. So with climbing, Boomer's climbing is pretty shitty. Honestly, like the worst climbing, honestly, is actually 5 out of 10 because most tanks can climb a little bit. Boomer, however, rated at like what 70, it's actually pretty crap. So if you ever play Boomer with, let's say, Poor Rabbit, and you get a chance to add a blue jewel or gem, add climbing into it, because Boomer is always stuck. I've noticed Boomer is always stuck after anyone shoots at him. So honestly, with Boomer, you want to be able to move front and back and front, because in case you get in a shitstorm with, let's say, a lot of west wind, right? So climbing is pretty crap. The lowest rating I'm ever gonna give on climbing is 5 anyway, so 6 is kind of relatively on the low side. Honestly, I was thinking of putting climbing at 5, but I think there's a tank that sucks even more. So right now, climbing is rated at 6, and we'll move on to the next one, which is versatility. By that I mean, can you play Boomer in all positions? Meaning, can you play him in the front as a drop tank, close, far, whatever you may say. Now, I personally, because I'm so used to Boomer, I can actually play Boomer, as the first position tank, or play him as a drop position. I actually prefer playing Boomer as a drop position rather than the first position, because then I can pair it up with, let's say, Coroni, and then land a risky shot depending on the wind. And again, because these formulas now, especially let's say for southwest wind, if it is pointing at, let's say, southeast or southwest, you just land on the opposite side and then you just divide it by 2. That's what I always do. So again, in terms of versatility, you can play him anywhere. Now, the reason why it's not 10 out of 10, it mainly, again, the restriction on the west wind. So in the front position, you are a little bit limited, but not completely, because you have S1. But S1 is difficult to navigate on its own. So that's why in versatility, I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10. And moving on to cloud bonuses, I mean, Boomer is greatly benefited no matter what cloud it is, and even if it is black cloud, you will feel the burden. So basically, cloud can either really bump up your attack with Boomer or really lower it. I know all colors matter, but black clouds in this game don't matter. So avoid clouds at all costs. And the reason why I'm giving it a 9, again, it's because of Boomer's bullet direction. You can really easily maintain cloud wherever you are and shooting. However, so if you guys are playing, I would opt to prioritize clouds over sky shoot. If there are no clouds, or if they're just explosion clouds, go for the sky shoot. But if they are Thor or thundercloud or power cloud, always go for those clouds first before you go for super sky. Of course, if you can do both, that's even better. But for me, I prioritize clouds over super sky. So for clouds, I'm gonna have to give it a 9. And for the second last one on Avatar. Now, the reason why Avatar, I'm putting it a 4, it's because, again, Boomer's HP is so low. You're very limited to only put defense avatars on Boomer, like Monko Air, Nasty Cat, or anyone with 2 green jewels. You can never, never put red jewels on Boomer because it won't last. You might be able to shoot once, at best twice. So I rather you survive and be able to take 5 hits rather than just take 2 hits. So with Avatar, honestly, you're very limited to what you can use. So if again you have good healing pets like Doctor, Nasty Cat, Monko Air, Poor Rabbit, Jewel Helmet, sure. But any other avatar, it just doesn't work with Boomer. I'm sorry. So, but moving on to the last one. Okay, last but not least, SS. I didn't cover much on SS today, but just so you know, SS with Vampire, I managed to hit over 800, meaning think of, let's say, an elephant, the ice, max level. I was able to one hit drop kick him, and all that good stuff. So if you're able to land all 3 boomers at the point where they all meet, which is usually you pulling it at like at least 75% power, you will land all 3 boomers and do roughly 750 damage. I've calculated each boomerang ranges from 220 to 260, so just do the math. Basically at 780, and you can also include cloud bonuses, vampire, whatever it may be, right? So the sky's the limit. I've seen it. I think my highest was 810. Unfortunately, I didn't have that recorded, but if you guys manage to score even higher, please send me a photo or a screenshot, link it to me or something, find a way, because I'd be really happy to see high damages on the SS with Boomer. So with that being said, all that rated, the total is 63 out of 100. I know I always say Boomer is amazing, but you gotta understand there are weaknesses with Boomer and all that stuff. So do take that into account when you are playing. Now again, this rating number doesn't mean much. It's just a category rating so that you can say, yeah, Boomer is good in this way, but not good in this way. So it's just food for thought, information for you to ponder upon. And with that being said, I'm gonna end the video here. Sil might actually include some gameplay. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I'm just gonna give him this and let him work his magic. But I am a little tired from talking for about an hour. Oh my god. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the explained videos. I really went deep dive into how to play Boomer. If you guys enjoyed it, again, support me by subscribing, hitting the notification bell, smashing the like, and leave a comment below for Sil and I to read. And I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye.